Frank Donovan was mowing his lawn when the new neighbor stopped to watch. It was 7:15 a.m. on a Tuesday, and Frank, at 94, pushed an old manual mower across his front yard with a rhythm that belonged to a man 30 years younger. No hearing aids visible. No medical alert necklace. No prescription sunglasses. Just a weathered navy cap and a faded t-shirt with sweat marks forming across the back. "Morning," Frank called out, pausing to wipe his brow. "Gonna be a hot one today." His voice carried across the yard without strain, his balance steady as he leaned on the mower handle. The neighbor, Jim, who'd just moved his 73-year-old mother into the house next door, couldn't hide his shock. His own mother needed help getting out of bed some mornings. She had a pill organizer with 14 compartments and had fallen twice this year already. "You must have good genes," Jim said, the assumption everyone makes when they meet Frank. "Your parents must have lived long too." Frank laughed, a deep belly laugh that showed all his real teeth. "My father died at 67. Heart attack while watching the news. Mom made it to 78 but took 16 medications a day for the last decade. My brother? Dementia at 72. He ran his hand over the mower handle. "This isn't luck. This is strategy." If you clicked on this video wondering if there's still time to avoid the avalanche of pills, the creeping fog of memory loss, or the constant companion of pain that seems inevitable after 70, pay attention. What Frank does isn't complicated. It isn't expensive. But it flies in the face of almost everything seniors are told to do. These 5 daily habits don't just add years to your life. They protect your brain, strengthen your body, and keep you out of the medical system that profits from your decline. The first habit started the day Frank noticed a strange ache in his right hand, the same ache most people ignore until it's too late. Habit number 1. Frank never sits without earning it. "Get rid of the damn recliner," Frank told his neighbor Jim, who'd asked for advice on helping his mother. "That chair is killing her faster than any disease." Frank should know. At 72, he threw out his own recliner after noticing he'd spent 4 hours in it without moving once. Now, at 94, Frank follows a simple rule. He never sits without earning it first. If he watches the evening news, he stands. If he reads a book, he does it in a squat position, back against the wall. When he talks on the phone with his grandchildren, he paces his kitchen. He earns every rest with movement. 10 wall push-ups before sitting for a meal, 5 deep knee bends before settling on the porch, a flight of stairs before sitting to tie his shoes. People think they're being good by doing 30 minutes of exercise, then sitting for the other 15 hours they're awake, Frank explains. That math doesn't work in your favor. What Frank discovered through instinct, science now confirms. Sarcopenia, the age-related loss of muscle mass and function, isn't just about calories burned. It's neurological. Your body literally forgets how to fire muscle fibers correctly when you sit too much. The longer you sit, the faster this neural amnesia progresses. Marjorie, 76, was taking 3 medications for joint pain when her doctor suggested yet another prescription. Instead, she tried Frank's sitting rule for 6 weeks. The result? Her pain decreased by half, and her need for afternoon naps disappeared completely. Her balance improved so dramatically that her daughter stopped insisting she use a cane. This isn't exercise as we've been taught to think of it. It's repatterning for survival. Your muscle tissue isn't just for movement, it's a metabolic organ that regulates inflammation, blood sugar, and even cognitive function. Each time you stand from sitting, your body produces myokines, powerful anti-inflammatory compounds that drugs try to mimic. Want fewer pills in your future? First, lose the chair. Start with just 5 earned sits per day, a small movement before you rest. Your body will remember what it was designed to do, and your brain will thank you with clarity that no pill can provide. Habit number 2. He eats bitter, not sweet. Frank's breakfast would make most people wince. Black coffee with a squeeze of lemon. A small bowl of plain yogurt with dandelion greens from his backyard. No sugar, no honey, no sweet fruit to mask the sour, bitter flavors that make most people reach for the maple syrup. "I eat what your grandparents would have spit out," Frank says with a grin. "And I avoid what they would have treasured." This isn't just contrarian stubbornness, it's deliberate metabolic strategy. The bitter compounds in Frank's morning ritual, the coffee alkaloids, the dandelion taraxacins, the fermented yogurt, all trigger a cascade of digestive processes that most seniors have lost. When your tongue tastes bitterness, it immediately signals your vagus nerve, which then stimulates bile flow from the gallbladder, enzyme production from the pancreas, and a cellular cleaning process called autophagy. Eleanor, 79, suffered from what her doctor called age-related cognitive decline. She'd been having senior moments, forgetting names, losing her train of thought mid-sentence. Her solution had been to add more sweet fruit to her diet, believing the antioxidants would help. After 3 weeks of swapping her morning banana and orange juice for Frank's bitter breakfast, her husband noticed she had stopped asking the same questions repeatedly. The bitter truth, Frank says, is that sweet foods, even healthy fruits, sedate your digestive system. They put your body in storage mode, not cleaning mode. For seniors especially, this matters because cognitive decline often begins in the gut, not the brain. The inflammation from poorly digested food travels up the vagus nerve highway directly to your memory centers. Modern medical research confirms what Frank learned by listening to his body. Studies show bitter compounds activate the same cellular pathways targeted by cutting-edge Alzheimer's drugs, without the side effects. Your grandparents didn't have dandelion greens labeled as superfoods, but they ate bitter plants as a normal part of their diet. Our modern sweet palate has robbed us of this natural medicine. Frank's advice is characteristically blunt. If it doesn't taste a little like medicine, it probably acts like poison in an aging body. Want to keep your memory sharp past 90? Retrain your tongue to appreciate what your body actually needs, not what your pleasure centers demand. Habit number 3, he let go of his doctor's voice in his head. At 65, Frank sat nodding as his doctor reviewed his annual blood work. Your cholesterol is creeping up. Cut the red meat. Limit eggs to 1 per week. And definitely reduce salt. Your blood pressure is borderline. Frank followed this advice religiously for 3 months. His numbers improved slightly on paper, but something else happened that the blood tests didn't measure. He felt terrible. His energy crashed by 2 p.m. His sleep became fragmented. His joints ached more, not less. That's when Frank made the most radical health decision of his life. He stopped outsourcing his body's wisdom to external authorities. He went back to eating eggs every morning. He salted his food to taste. He added steak back into his diet twice weekly. And he tracked how he felt, not just what the conventional wisdom said he should do. My brain was clearer after eggs than after oatmeal, Frank recalls. My heart felt steadier with salt than without it. The numbers on paper meant nothing compared to the signals my body was sending. Dorothy, 81, had been taking acid blockers for decades because a doctor once told her she had too much stomach acid. When she couldn't remember her grandson's name at his birthday party, her daughter suggested she try Frank's third habit, questioning the medical mantras she'd been following without testing them. Within weeks of weaning off the acid blockers, with medical supervision, Dorothy's cognitive fog began lifting. It wasn't aging, it was long-term nutrient malabsorption from suppressed stomach acid. Most decline isn't disease, Frank insists. It's dogma. The medical advice that makes sense for the average person in a clinical study might be exactly wrong for your particular biochemistry. This isn't about ignoring doctors. It's about partnering with them while honoring the most sophisticated lab equipment you own, your lived experience. Frank's tip for implementing this habit: test one forbidden food you secretly miss. Reintroduce it mindfully, and watch your symptoms, energy, and clarity with the objectivity of a scientist. Are you a textbook case, or are you a self-study? After 70, you've earned the right to know the difference. Habit number 4, he feels the pain, then does it anyway. When Frank was 83, he slipped on black ice while getting his morning paper. The fall cracked a rib and sent shooting pain through his side with every breath. The urgent care doctor prescribed pain medication and told him to rest until it healed. Frank filled the prescription but never took a single pill. Instead, he did the opposite of what seems logical. He doubled down on gentle movement. Each morning, he carefully stretched the injured area, breathed into the pain, and walked a little farther than the day before. It hurt, sometimes tremendously, but Frank had learned something most seniors never discover. There's a critical difference between pain that warns and pain that lies. Pain is a language, not just an alarm, Frank explains. When you feel it, get curious. Is it sharp or dull? Does it spike suddenly or build gradually? Does it change with movement or stay constant? This questioning stance, what doctors call pain neuroscience education, literally rewires how your brain processes pain signals. Harriet, 77, had been diagnosed with fibromyalgia after years of increasing pain that kept her homebound. Her 7 daily medications barely touched the constant ache, and her doctor had recently suggested adding an 8th. In desperation, she tried Frank's approach. Feel the pain, describe it in detail, then move through it anyway. 6 weeks later, she was using only 2 medications and had started volunteering at the library again. The science behind Frank's 4th habit is powerful. When you feel pain and respond with fear and avoidance, your brain amplifies the danger signals. It begins to protect you by shutting down movement, which ironically makes the pain worse. This creates a vicious cycle where fear of pain causes more pain, leading to more medication, more avoidance, and eventually, disability. My secret isn't being pain-free, Frank says. It's moving through pain before it takes root. This doesn't mean ignoring serious injuries or pushing through dangerous warning signs. It means developing the wisdom to distinguish between pain that protects and pain that imprisons. The first keeps you safe, the second keeps you small. For seniors who want fewer pills and more mobility, learning this distinction is the master key. Start with just 5 minutes of gentle movement into the edge of discomfort, breathing slowly rather than bracing against it. Your nervous system will gradually recalibrate, and you'll discover a resilience you thought was lost forever. Habit number 5, he goes to sleep the same way every night. Ashamed, grateful, and empty. Frank's bedroom contains no television, no smartphone, no digital clock casting blue light across the walls. By 8 p.m., as the sun sets, the only illumination comes from a single amber reading lamp. He hasn't eaten since 4 p.m., giving his digestive system time to complete its work before sleep. But these physical preparations, while important, aren't the true secret to why Frank sleeps deeply for 7 uninterrupted hours while his peers rely on Ambien and still wake up exhausted. The real magic happens in the 15 minutes before his head hits the pillow. Frank sits at a small desk with a worn leather journal and writes 2 things. 1 regret from the day and 1 moment of gratitude. He calls these his mental bowel movements. Most people walk around constipated with yesterday's emotional waste, Frank says. Then they wonder why they can't sleep. The body knows what you're not processing. This nightly ritual of emotional digestion, acknowledging both the shadow and the light of each day, creates what neuroscientists call cognitive closure. It tells your nervous system that the day's stories have been filed away properly, allowing deep sleep to begin. Bernard, 84, had taken sleep medication for 2 decades. When his doctor warned him about the connection between these drugs and dementia risk, he tried Frank's 5th habit. For 3 weeks, he wrote his regrets and gratitudes before bed. By the 4th week, he slept through the night without medication for the first time in years. His morning brain fog lifted, and his wife noticed he was remembering conversations they'd had days earlier. The science behind this practice is compelling. Your nervous system files emotional experiences with memory. Unresolved tension, the argument you didn't finish, the mistake you didn't acknowledge, the beauty you didn't fully appreciate, gets stored in the body as muscle tension, racing thoughts, and fragmented sleep patterns. This in turn accelerates inflammation, pain, and cognitive decline. Sleep isn't something you take, Frank insists. It's something you earn. Not with melatonin. With peace. His approach contradicts the quick-fix solutions marketed to seniors, but it addresses the root cause of insomnia that plagues so many older adults, the accumulated emotional static of a long life. To implement this habit, start with just 3 minutes of writing before bed. 1 regret, what you wish you'd done differently today. 1 gratitude, what beauty or kindness you witnessed. Then close the book, close your eyes, and notice how your body responds to this simple act of completion. As the morning sun filtered through Frank's kitchen window, his new neighbor Jim sat across from him, taking notes. So these 5 things, That's really it? Movement breaks before sitting, bitter foods, questioning medical dogma, moving through pain, and emotional digestion before sleep. Frank sipped his bitter coffee. That's it. Nothing magic. Just alignment with how the body was designed to function. He set down his mug. The problem isn't aging. It's that we've normalized decline by following advice that makes sense on paper but fails in practice. At 94, Frank Donovan isn't an anomaly or a genetic marvel. He's what normal human aging could look like if we stopped treating the symptoms of misalignment and started addressing the causes. The 5 daily habits that keep him sharp, strong, and medication-free aren't revolutionary, they're evolutionary. They work because they honor the body's innate intelligence rather than overriding it with modern conveniences and quick fixes. If you're over 70 and worried about memory loss, chronic pain, or medication dependence, choose just one of these habits to implement this week. Start small: 1 earned sit, 1 bitter food, 1 questioned health rule, 1 mindful movement through discomfort, or 3 minutes of emotional processing before bed. These practices won't deliver instant results. They aren't meant to. They're daily investments in a system that compounds over time, like interest in a bank account that others are withdrawing from daily. While your peers continue declining, you'll be quietly rebuilding the resilience that modern life has taught you to surrender. As Frank told his neighbor that morning, the pharmaceutical approach to aging treats each symptom as it arrives. These 5 habits address the root causes before symptoms appear. It's the difference between constantly putting out fires and learning not to play with matches in the first place. Your body wants to heal. It wants to remember. It wants to move without pain. Give it what it actually needs, not what's convenient or conventional, and watch what happens next. Please share your thoughts in the comments if you've experienced something like this. Your story could help someone else realize they're not alone. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to get notified when our next video goes live.